So, been out, spent a bit of money. Well, let's say been out, we sat in front of a computer and ordered it off of eBay. Pair of shocks, fairly obviously. They both came in a box. Shock absorber body and set of bushes to suit different sizes of stuff. One adjusted spanner for the preload. Doesn't make it harder, doesn't make it softer. I don't know, some of our old reviewers may remember that it looks remarkably like what used to be called S&W street shocks. Then again, they were like 92 quid for the pair. So got them, just get the bushes fitted and stick one on. And there you have it, bushes fitted, stuck on. So that leaves us with what progress are we making and what progress have we made. So obviously chopped all the top tube out, cut a new piece of tube, fish mouthed out and out, tack welded it, just tack welded it for now on here, cut and reshape these, welded it there. Cutting and reshaping those. This is how we used to do it back in the day, but because basically we had no money, no materials and no tube benders, so we had to use what we could to make it look how we wanted it. What if you've reached the point where you've got some way of bending the tube and you've got an inch tube bender, then you could have cut that off there, undone these engine mounts, cut it off down there, took the whole thing out of the way, cleaned these pieces here off of the frame, ground that weld away, knocked the stub of the tube out, dress this down to fit the inch, maybe drill it in a couple of places to plug it as well, fit the inch in there, put a bend on the end of it and made that piece from scratch. And afterwards re-welded these, having cleaned, do the opposite of what I did when I was trying to clean these up, which is to grind the tube away, leave the bracket alone, cut out a piece of tube for in there, and you get that. Might sound like quite a lot of work, but I can assure you it's more work than it sounds like, which is one of the reasons for not doing it. So the next problem I got is the seating position. Fairly obviously you need to get seating now, and in actual fact that fits quite nicely in the available space. But the trouble is, the shock mounts are a little bit higher than that. So what we want to do is bring the tube maybe a little bit further down there. Bring the tube along and then up. Because if I just put the tube, excuse you, right, fill my mouth with a tape measure, like that, it doesn't sort of follow the seat at all. That's a bit ugly. So we want to bring the tube around the seat and into there. And at the same time, we want to drop these down a little. We don't want to get too mad, because when you do that, you affect the spring rate on the wheel. I'll talk about that a bit more at some point. Now, what is interesting is this side of the frame, as I've said before, is wider than that side of the frame. So one way of getting these shock mounts lower would be to cut this frame, clean these brackets off, cut this frame tube, squeeze it down. If you look at the end, I don't know if you can see that there, but this is a lot thicker than this. So that's good, that's a good deal. But on the other end we've got some tube, so we might as well cut it off right at the bottom there, fit it in there, bring it up, meet these, and come off a nice clean plate off either side with a bolt going through it to hold the shock on, which means I've got some 10mm the bush kit for the shock as well, it's kind of different size bushes, so I could go to a 10mm bush and put a 10mm bolt through it instead of having to deal with all this very large cantilevered stuff. So And the only snag that there might be with all that is this could be a little bit too short. So I'm going to go off and do a bit of a survey, and we'll come back to it in a minute. Go to the end of the nut. That's 15 1/4, and that's 15 1/4. You want to come forward. If I bring that forward to 14, it lowers it quite considerably. So what does that give me for that? That's 14. That's 16. It's probably going to be livable with. Distance between them is 255. Come alive, 255. So basically, if I could cut a couple of bits of inch tube, bend it so it comes up there like that, and we'll let that come down somewhere around here. We should all be golden. Then the seat rails from there, I'll put a bend in it and let it come. Right, so if I come down here and let the frame do that, then I can follow the shape equivalent to that, but it'll be over here. I can let the frame follow the shape of the seat, and I can bring up some support onto those top mounts. The problem, of course, is this is a bit short. Not a bit of tube, bit of a spacer. There, that's better. Right. Oh. Put my ass back in the camera. That's not it. Where's it gone? There it is. Oh, lovely, overly massive chunk of aluminium for holding the footrests on. Great. Don't really need that either. Told you that was thicker. Right. See if I can zoom in on this a second. Right, you can just see that there now. There. That's where the weld between this frame lug and that bit of tube's been cleaned up, and that's the object of this particular exercise, is to get that piece of tube out of there. So let's get back on with the now I know where it is, I can sort of chase it round. I didn't say it was going to be easy, did I? Okay, that's just fucking way too big, isn't it? Well, what do you know? That all moved rather easily. Gee. Annoyingly fiddlesome. Oh, there we go. The piece. This is what we're using. So there's that. Yeah, and once you get down in there, frivol, rust and crap on the frame, it's pretty much the same size. So with a little light persuasion, that should go in there. Oh. See if we've got a little light persuader. Let's do a little light persuasion with. And this, children, is where you always weld your frame together. So that got us started. I'm going to do this one side at a time. And obviously I'm going to do this side first. So what I'll do is I'll figure out what the bend should, the approximate angle of the bend. I'll bend it, leaving this end long. I could trim that to bring it across as it comes down. I think right now I'm going to go home. Right, so probably should have my head in the shot, but let's face it, your head's not important. Well, it is if you're trying to walk around and talk and think and eat and stuff like that, but for the purposes of this, you don't need to be seeing my head. Originally they sit inboard, so they would have come over here somewhere. So that would move the bend up that tube. If I'm going to put it there, the bend moves down the tube. Now it's all very well saying, right, you want the bend to be there, but that is in fact the centre of the bend. As soon as our shock's going to come to at least there, possibly a little bit further forward than that, we're looking at something that's impossible to read. Let's see if we can read something you can actually read. Because that kind of thing. That'll come that sort of angle. And at that point now, it's kind of about 1 inch and 1/8. That's right. Scratch just down the top. And stop talking with a Sharpie lid in your mouth. It's a bad habit. No, you've got to have a little think about this. I think I'm going to leave that exactly where it is. And I'm just going to shove it in a little bit, and then I'm going to measure 1.5 inches of deflection when it's all in the bender. Well, that's a bit unfortunate. I just put that in there and bent it, but I thought I'd press the record button, but I'd obviously screwed that up and I didn't record anything, so basically it was in there and I pumped that until it was bent that much. I don't really think you've missed anything. Okay, with that, something like bent, we can mock that up a little bit, and we can. I've got the shot leaning in now. It should actually be back there, so let's come across that much more, which I'll measure in a minute. Probably not on camera though. And then I'm going to go over there and find the seat, because it's got to fit in that space. So, okay, yeah, it's looking pretty groovy. So there we have it. Right. So the next thing we'll do is go back onto the bender. Try and remember to film it this time. and rectify this bend a little bit, which I'm about to measure. So because that was the mark I made for where I want it to go across, that's the direction I want to go in, because I'm making the bend tighter. And it was about 20 mil. And now I can hold the tape on there, and that's all going to be groovy. Especially once this will stop flopping around. Because the end's jumping up down there. There we go. 2. I was moving about 1 millimetre a pump, and I wanted 22 mil, not 20. Right, back on the frame. Oh, right, well 10 seconds ago I would have said that was desperately overbent, but now that I've arranged it a little, that's going to need rotating a bit now. Oh, mother dear. Somewhere about there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, yes, it's leaning out. So this one's got out a bit, and the easy way to do that is just to trim a little bit off the bottom, which is just a matter of trying, because then when it goes in, the bend's further down, but it's also gone that way. So let's have a little trim and a fiddle with that. When I was living in there, this pen mark is where the tube, how far in the tube was. So, and I can see it's running out. So I'll take it out, and I put it outside. Yeah, it's running to the outside face, so I want that running something like square. I've slide it down to there, and it's looking quite good. So if I take that much off of the end, not to cut it there, take that much off the end, which is pretty much there. It should be, if not groovy, at least groovier. Right, I'm going to try and do this one without rambling, because this is my third go at this. This has been bent, tweaked about, fettled, shortened and adjusted so it sits something like right. If you look at it front on, it looks upright. Looking upright is good enough for this, because at the end of the day, this side of the frame is further from the centre line than that side of the frame, so where if I stand here it looks like it's got a bend in it, if I stand in the right place down here it looks like it hasn't got a bend in it. It's all, it's very subjective. But as long as the distance from A to B, B to C and B to the centre line is the same both sides, then the shots are in the same place. If the frame looks vaguely symmetrical and that's happening, we're all good. What's that going on there? That sleeve's disappearing up there. Stop it. I told you the world to frame it. I need to cut some of those out. It's getting late, I'm getting tired. I like the number of fingers I got. It's going to be using the bandsaw, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home now and come back to it tomorrow, probably, if I don't wake up dead. Okay, so bit tube bent, tweaked, everybody's happy with it. Well, I'm happy with it anyway. Take some with a straight edge. I can put it on there, I can get down here, I can have a look. I've got no gaps, so that tells me the bend's in more or less the right place. Straight edge along it, make sure you've got the rotation right and it looks straight as opposed to looking like a dog's hind leg. Because if it looks like that and you rotate it, it comes to the point where it looks straight. As long as the shocks are like that, a lot like that, or like that, then it's all probably okay. But if you start going near enough, it's good enough, then you know it's a bit of a slippery path to go down. So with that in mind, I'm going to tweak this a little more. And the other thing I've decided is I want to bend this back so the end of this upright rail comes over the shock. So I'm going to organise that. So with all this positioned correctly, and take that off up there. Look how it sits around the shock. Move the shock. Okay, put a mark. Don't talk the pen in your mouth here. I put a mark on the actual rail where we want that to be. Now, because we've made an effort to get the first bend in that plane, in line with the rest of it, so that's the first bend. We want the bend we're about to make to be at 90 degrees to it. So we have to ensure that it's 90 degrees in the correct direction, which is why we take another one. We put another mark on the thing, like a swoopy arrow, which tells us which way the bend wants to be. And then we've got to true that up in the bender to make the bend. So that'll be the next project. I haven't ever got around to making this a right and left-handed bender. So when this is going in there to bend the way I want it to bend, the other end of the tube is going down there and it's hitting the bed. So the moral of that story is we have to revise our game plan. Okay, so bit of plan B, non-permanent solution. Turns out if I cut a hole out, I can tuck the end of the tube down into it. So no need to get the tool for the job. So I'll be back momentarily. Oh. Right, here we go then. So that, really lucky for a win, we'll go down through the hole now. Oh, very nearly. Yeah, how about that? Where do you go? So the next question is, what angle we've got to bend it through? So that gives me the angle. This is the tube. There's the bend line I transferred from test bend. There's the modified hole in my tube bender. That's all fit in there. Right, now we need to know now is, in an ideal world, we should be putting something flat against there and checking out it's vertical. So the other way you can do this is to check it's straight that way. So if I put that plastic straight edge along there, that's looking good. That's nice. Okay. I'm going to pump it, I'm eyeballing down through there. I'm going to pump it a little bit past that because it'll spring back and let the pressure off. This is parallel to that. This has now got a little bit there because this has come round further. So since we want the bend on the other side to be the same, it's worth marking where that is. I'm treating that a bit gingerly. So, there we go. twice again. Keep that ready to get it out. There we go. However, there's other ways of doing stuff. So you put that back in there. Okay. And it's all looking groovy. Oh. I'm going to stop filming this now. I'm going to take a bit of a break.